Professor Philip Kotler says, once the core product concept is chosen, it defines the character of the product space in which the new product has to be positioned. Good day everyone, I am Julius R. De La Cruz and I am going to present the topic Crafting Brand Positioning. In this topic, the following questions will be addressed. First, how can a firm develop and establish an effective positioning in the market? Second, how do marketers identify and analyze competition? The third, how are brands successfully differentiated? And the last one, what are the differences in positioning and branding with a small business? In marketing terms, there is no such thing as a product or service that exists by itself in space, independent of the consumer. For a product to exist, it must find a place in an individual consumer's perception and the world of products around him or her. And this perception is objective, governed by individual consumers' values, beliefs, needs, experience, and environment. There is always a marketing debate. Marketers have different views on how to position a brand, and this topic will answer the question, what is the best way to position a brand? So let's start with developing and communicating a positioning strategy. No company can win if its product and offerings resemble every other product and offering. As part of the strategic brand management process, each offering must represent a compelling, distinctive big idea in the mind of the target market. Creating a compelling, well-differentiated brand position requires a keen understanding of consumer needs and wants, customer capabilities, and competitive actions. It also requires disciplined but creative thinking. All marketing strategy is built on STP. STP stands for segmentation, targeting, and positioning. A company discovers different needs and groups in the marketplace, targets those needs and groups that it can satisfy in a superior way, and then position its offering so that the target market recognizes the company's distinctive offering and image. So what is product or brand positioning? Positioning is the act of designing the company's offering and image to occupy a distinctive place in the mind of the target market. The idea that each brand occupies a particular point or space in the individual consumer's mind, a point that is determined by that consumer's perception of the brand in question and in its relation to other brands. So what is the goal of brand positioning? The goal of brand positioning is to locate the brand in the minds of consumers to maximize potential benefit to the firm. So what is good product or good brand positioning? A good product or brand positioning helps guide marketing strategy by clarifying brand's essence, identifying the goals it helps the consumer achieve, and showing how it does so in a unique way. A good positioning has a foot in the present and a foot in the future. It needs to be somewhat aspirational so the brand has room to grow and improve. The result of positioning is the successful creation of a customer-focused value proposition, a cogent reason why the target market should buy the product. Positioning requires that marketers define and communicate similarities and differences between brand and its competitors. So what are the requirements on deciding a positioning? So there are several requirements for positioning a product or brand. The first one is determining a frame of reference by identifying the target market and relevant competition. The second, identifying the optimal points of parity and points of difference brand associations given that frame of reference. And the last one, creating a brand mantra to summarize the positioning and essence of the brand. So how to determine competitive frame of reference? The competitive frame of reference defines which other brands a brand competes with, and therefore which brand should be the focus of competitive analysis. Decisions about the competitive frame of reference are closely linked to target market decisions. Deciding to target a certain type of consumer can define the nature of competition because certain firms have decided to target that segment in the past, or because consumers in that segment may already look to certain products or brands in their purchase decisions. So how to identify competitors? A good starting point in defining a competitive frame of reference for brand positioning is to determine category membership. The products or sets of products with which a brand competes and which functions as close substitutes. The range of a company's actual and potential competitors, however, can be much broader than the obvious. For a brand with explicit growth intentions to enter new markets, a broader or maybe even more aspirational competitive frame may be necessary to reflect possible future competitors. And a company is more likely to be hurt by emerging competitors or new technologies than by current competitors. We can imagine competition from both an industry and a market point of view. An industry is a group of firms offering a product or a class of products that are close substitutes for one another. Marketers classify industries according to number of sellers, degree of product differentiation, presence or absence of entry, mobility, the exit barriers, cost structure, degree of vertical integration, and degree of globalization. Using the market approach, we define competitors as companies that satisfy the same customer need. Marketers must overcome marketing myopia and stop defining competition in traditional category and industry terms. The market concept of competition reveals a broader set of actual and potential competitors than competition defined in just product category terms. So how we will analyze competitors? Conducting a SWOT analysis that includes a competitive analysis. A company needs to gather information about each competitor's real and perceived strengths and weaknesses. Once the competitive frame of reference for positioning has been fixed by defining the customer target market and nature of competition, marketers can define the appropriate points of difference and points of association. So let us proceed with identifying optimal points of difference and points of parity. Once the marketers have fixed the competitive frame of reference for positioning by defining the customer target market and nature of the competition, they can define the appropriate points of difference and points of parity associations. So let us familiarize ourselves with what is point of difference or the PODS. These are attributes or benefits consumers strongly associate with a brand, positively evaluate, and believe that they could not find the same extent with a competitive brand. So what are the three criteria that could determine whether the brand association can truly function as a point of difference. The three key criteria used to determine whether a brand association can truly function as a point of difference are desirability, deliverability, and differentiability. And then, what are the key considerations if brand association can truly function as the point of difference? These are desirable to consumer. Consumers must see the brand association as personally relevant to them. The second one, deliverable by the company. The company must have the internal resources and commitment to feasibly and profitability profitably create and maintain the brand association in the minds of consumers. The product design and marketing offering must support the desired association. And the last one is differentiating from competitors. Finally, consumers must see the brand association as distinctive and superior to relevant competitors. Any attribute or benefit associated with a product or service can function as a point of difference for a brand as long as it is sufficiently desirable, deliverable, and differentiating. The brand must demonstrate clear superiority on an attribute or benefit, however, for it to function as a true point of difference. So let's proceed. What is point of parity, or the POD? So PODs, on the other hand, are attributes or benefits, associations that are not necessarily unique to the brand but may in fact be shared with other brands. These types of associations come in two basic forms, which are the category and the competitive. So what is category as basic form of point of parity? So category points of parity are associations consumers view as essential to be a legitimate and credible offering within a certain product or service category. They represent necessary conditions but not necessarily sufficient for brand choice. Category points of parity may change over time due to technological, legal, and consumer trends. So what is competitive as basic form of parity? A competitive points of parity are associations designed to negate competitors' point of difference. If a brand can break even where the competitors are trying to find an advantage and can achieve advantages in other areas, the brand should be in a strong competitive position. So we will differentiate POD or point of difference from the POPs. So to achieve a point of parity in a particular attribute or benefit, a sufficient number of consumers must believe that the brand is good enough on that dimension. There is a zone or range of tolerance or acceptance with points of parity. The brand does not literally have to be seen as equal to competitors, but consumers must feel that the brand does well enough on that particular attribute or benefit. With points of differences, the brand must demonstrate clear superiority. Often, the key to positioning is not so much achieving a point of difference as in achieving points of parity. Let's proceed to multiple frame of reference. So, it is not uncommon for a brand to identify more than one actual or potential competitive frame of reference if competition widens or the firm plans to expand into new categories. So what are the categories as options with multiple frames of reference? There are two main options with multiple frames of reference. One is to first develop the best possible positioning for each type or class of competitors, and see then whether there is a way to create one combined positioning robust enough to effectively address them all. If competition is too diverse, however, it may be necessary to prioritize competitors and then choose the most important set of competitors to serve as the competitive frame. One crucial consideration is not to try to be all things to all people. That leads to lowest common denominator positioning, which is typically ineffective. And finally, the second one is if there are many competitors in different categories or subcategories, it may be useful to either develop the positioning at the categorical level for all relevant categories. Occasionally, a company will try to straddle two frames of reference. So why marketers should choose the POPs and PODs? Marketers typically focus on brand benefits in choosing the points of parity and points of difference that make up their brand positioning. Brand attributes generally play more of supporting role by providing reasons to believe or proof points as to why a brand can credibly claim it offers certain benefits. For choosing specific benefits such as the POPs and PODs to position a brand, perceptual maps may be useful. What is these perceptual maps? Perceptual maps are visual representations of consumer perceptions and preferences. They provide quantitative portrayals of market situations and the way consumers view different products, services, and brands along various dimensions. By overlaying consumer preferences with brand perceptions, marketers can reveal the holes or openings that suggest unmet consumer needs and marketing opportunities. So let us proceed with what is brand mantras. To further focus the intent of the brand positioning and the way firms would like consumers to think about the brand, it is often useful to define a brand mantra. So what is brand mantra? Brand mantra is an articulation of the heart and the soul of the brand and is closely related to other branding concepts like brand essence and core brand promise. Brand mantras are short, 3 to 5 word phrases that capture the irrefutable essence or spirit of the brand positioning. Their purpose is to ensure that all employees within the organization and all external marketing partners understand what the brand is most fundamentally trying to represent with consumers so they can adjust their actions accordingly. Brand mantras are powerful devices. They can provide guidance about what products to introduce under the brand, what ad campaigns to run, and where and how to sell the brand. Their influence, however, can extend beyond these tactical concerns. Brand mantras may even guide the most seemingly unrelated or mundane decisions such as the look of a reception area and the way phones are answered. In effect, they create a mental filter to screen out brand inappropriate marketing activities or actions of any type that may have negative bearing on customers' impressions of a brand. Brand mantras must economically communicate what the brand is and what it is not. What next? Let's proceed to on how to design brand mantras. Brand mantras are designed with internal purposes in mind. A brand slogan is an external translation that attempts to creatively engage consumers. Brand mantras are typically designed to capture the brand's point of difference, that is, what is unique about the brand. Other aspects of brand positioning, especially the brand's point of parity, may also be important and may need to be reinforced in other ways. For brands facing rapid growth, it is helpful to define the product or benefit space in which the brand would like to compete, as Nike did with athletic performance and Disney with family entertainment. Words that describe the nature of the product or service or the type of experiences or benefits the brand provides can be critical to identifying appropriate categories into which to extend. For brands in more stable categories where extensions into more distinct categories are less likely to occur, the brand the brand mantra may focus more exclusively on points of difference. Brand mantras derive their power and usefulness from their collective meaning. Other brands may be strong on one or perhaps even a few of the brand associations making up the brand mantra. But for the brand mantra to be effective, no other brand should singularly excel on all dimensions. So there are three key criteria for the brand mantra. These are communicate, simplify, and inspire. So let's start with communicate. A good mantra should define the category or categories of business for the brand and set the brand boundaries. It should also clarify what is unique about the brand. The second criteria is simplify. An effective brand mantra should be memorable. For that, it should be short, crisp, and vivid in meaning. And the last one is inspire. Ideally, the brand mantra should also stake out ground that is personally meaningful and relevant to as many employees as possible. So let us proceed on how to establish brand positioning. So once they have determined the brand positioning strategy, marketers should communicate it to everyone in the organization so it guides their words and actions. One helpful schematic to do is a brand positioning bullseye. Constructing a bullseye for the brand ensures that no steps are skipped in its development. To communicate a company or brand positioning, marketing plans often include a positioning statement. The statement should follow the form like to. It talks about the target group or and need. R, it talks about the brand. Is, it talks about the concept. And that, it talks about what to use. Is it the POD or the POPs, or you will not use the to. The points of parity are driven by the needs of category memberships and necessity of negating competitors' PODs. Marketers must decide at which level or levels to anchor the brand's point of differences. Is it at the lowest level are the brand's attributes, or is it at the next level are the brand's benefits, at the top level are the brand's values. So research has shown that brands can sometimes be successfully differentiated on seemingly irrelevant attributes if consumers infer the proper benefit. So the next one is communicating category membership. There are three main ways to convey a brand's category membership. The first one is announcing category benefits. So it is to reassure consumers that a brand will deliver on the fundamental reason for using a category. Marketers frequently use benefits to announce category membership. The second one is comparing the exemplars. It is a well-known, noteworthy brands in a category can also help a brand specify its category membership. And the last one is relying on the product descriptor. The product descriptor that allows the brand name is often a concise means of conveying category origin. And then, communicating point of parity and point of difference in establishing brand positioning. One common difficulty is creating a strong competitive brand positioning is that many of the attributes or benefits that make up the points of parity and points of difference are negatively correlated. If consumers rate the brand highly on a particular attributes or benefit, they also rate it poorly on another important attribute. Unfortunately, consumers typically want to maximize both attributes and benefits. The best approach is to develop a product and service that performs well on both dimensions. So let's proceed with differentiation strategies. How to build a strong brand and avoid the commodity trap. So to build a strong brand and to avoid the commodity trap, marketers must start the belief that you can differentiate anything. The obvious means of differentiation, and often most compelling ones to consumers, relate to aspects of product or service. Competitive advantage is a company's ability in one or more ways. Leverageable advantage is one that a company can use as a springboard to new advantages. A company hopes to continuously invent new advantages. Customers must see any competitive advantage as a customer advantage, and companies can use other forms of differentiations to their advantages like personal differentiation, child differentiation, and image differentiation. So what are the means of differentiation of brand? The obvious means of differentiation and often ones most compelling to consumers relate to aspects of product and service. So the first one is employee differentiation. So companies can have better trained employees who provide superior customer service. The next is channel differentiation. So companies can more effectively and efficiently design their distribution channels, coverage, expertise, and performance to make buying the product easier and more enjoyable and rewarding. Next is image differentiation. So companies can craft powerful, compelling images that appeal to consumer social and psychological needs. Next is service differentiation. A service company can differentiate itself by designing a better and faster delivery system that provides more effective and efficient solutions to consumers. There are three levels of differentiation. The first one is reliability, the second one is resilience, and the third one is innovativeness. So we'll go back to the first one, which is the reliability. So what is this? Some suppliers are more reliable in their on-time delivery, order completeness, and order cycle time. And the second, which is the resilience, some suppliers are better at handling emergencies, product recalls, and inquiries. And the last one, which is the innovativeness, some suppliers create better information systems, introduce barcoding and mixed palettes, and help the customer in other ways. Okay. The next one is emotional branding. So what is emotional branding? Many marketing experts believe a brand positioning should have both rational and emotional components. In other words, a good positioning should contain points of difference and points of parity that appeal both to the head and the heart. So to do this, strong brands often seek to build on their performance advantages to strike an emotional chord with their customers. A person's emotional response to a brand and its marketing will depend on many factors. One increasingly important factor is a brand authenticity. Brand consultant Mark Go believes emotional brand share three specific traits. These are strong people, focused corporate culture. The second is a distinctive communication style and philosophy. And the last one, a compelling emotional hook. Robert advocates that brands strive to become love marks. So brands that are love marks, according to Roberts, command both respect and love and result from a brand's ability to achieve mystery, sensuality, and intimacy. So mystery draws together stories, metaphors, dreams, and symbols. Mystery adds to the complexity of relationships and experiences because people are naturally drawn to what they don't know. Sensuality keeps the five senses of sight, hearing, smell, touch, taste on constant alert for new textures, intriguing sense and taste, wonderful music, and other sensory stimuli. And intimacy, it means empathy, commitment, and passion. The close connections that win intense loyalty as well as small perfect gesture. So there are three variables when analyzing potential threats posed by competitors. So what are these? In general, the firm should monitor three variables when analyzing potential threats posed by competitors. The first one is share of market. So what is the share of market? The competitor's share of the target market. The second one, share of mind. The percentage of customers who named the competitor in responding to the statement, name the first company that comes to mind in this industry. And the last one is share of heart. It is the percentage of customers who named the competitor in responding to the statement, name the company from which you would prefer to buy the product. Companies that make steady gains in mind share and heart share will inevitably make gains in market share and profitability. So what are the alternative approaches to positioning? The competitive brand positioning model is a structured way to approach positioning based on in-depth consumer, company, and competitive analysis. Some marketers have proposed other, less structured approaches in recent years that offer provocative ideas on how to position a brand. So, what is brand narratives and storytelling? Rather than outlining specific attributes or benefits, some marketing experts describe positioning a brand as telling a narrative or story. Randall Ringer and Michael Thibodeau see narrative branding as based on the metaphors that connects to people, memories, associations, and stories. So there are five elements of narrative branding according to Ringer and Thibodeau. And these are the brand story in terms of words and metaphors. Next is the consumer's journey in terms of how consumers engage with the brand over time and touch points where they come into contact with it, and the visual language or expression of the brand. The next one is the brand or the manner in which the narrative is expressed experientially in terms of how the brand engages the senses. And the last one is the role or relationship the brand plays in the lives of consumers. Based on literary convention and brand experience, they also offer the following framework for a brand story. The first one is setting. It talks about the time, the place, and the context. Next is the cast. These are the brand as a character, including its role in the life of the audience, its relationships and responsibilities, and its history or creation myth. The next one is the narrative arc. It is the way the narrative logic unfolds over time, including actions, desired experiences, defining events, and the moment of epiphany. And the last one is the language, the authenticating voice, the metaphors, the symbols, the themes, and the leitmotifs. Patrick Hanlon developed the related concept of primal branding that views brand as complex belief systems. According to Hanlon, diverse brands such as Google, Mini Cooper, the US Marine Corps, Starbucks, the Apple, the apps, and Avida all have a primal code or DNA that resonates with their customers and generates their passion and fervor. He outlines 7 assets that make up this belief system or primal code. The first one is the creation, the creed, the icon, the rituals, the sacred words, a way of dealing with non-believers, and a good leader. So let us continue with brand journalism. So what is brand journalism? When Larry Light was CMO at McDonald's, he advocated an approach to brand positioning that he called brand journalism. Just as editors and writers for newspapers and magazines tell many facets of a story to capture the interest of diverse groups of people, Light believes marketers should communicate different messages to different market segments as long as they at least broadly fit with the basic broad image of the brand. And then we have the cultural branding. So what is cultural branding? Oxford University's Douglas Holt believes for companies to build iconic leadership brands, they must assemble cultural knowledge, strategize according to cultural branding principles, and hire and train cultural experts. Even Procter & Gamble, a company that has long orchestrated how shoppers perceive its product, has started on what its chief executive A.G. Lovely calls a learning journey with the consumer. Consumers are beginning in a very real sense to own our brands and participate in their creation, he said. We need to learn to begin to let go. The University of Wisconsin's Craig Thompson views brands as socio-cultural templates, citing research investigating brands as cultural resources that shows how ESPN zone restaurants tap into competitive masculinity and how American Girl dolls tap into the mother-daughter relationships and the cross-generational transfer of femininity. And then, the last part would be positioning and branding small business. How should small business position and brand product? Building brands for a small business is a challenge because these firms have limited resources and budgets. Unlike major brands that often have more resources at their disposal, small businesses usually do not have the luxury to make mistakes and must design and implement marketing programs much more carefully. Nevertheless, numerous success stories exist of entrepreneurs who have built their brands essentially from scratch to become powerhouse brands. In general, with limited resources behind the brand, both focus and consistency in marketing programs are critically important. Creativity is also paramount, finding new ways to market new ideas about products to consumers. And lastly, what are the specific branding guidelines for small businesses? There are some specific branding guidelines for small businesses as follows. First is creatively conduct low-cost marketing research. There are a variety of low-cost marketing research methods that help small businesses connect with customers and study competitors. Focus on building one or two strong brands based on one or two key associations. Small businesses often must rely on only one or two brands and key associations as points of difference for those brands. Employ a well-integrated set of brands elements. Tactically, it is important for small businesses to maximize the contribution of each of the three main sets of brand equity drivers. What are the three brand equity drivers? The first one is they should develop a distinctive, well-integrated set of brand elements that enhances both brand awareness and brand image. Brand elements should be memorable and meaningful, with as much creative potential as possible. Innovative packaging can be substitute for ad campaigns by capturing attention at the point of purchase. The second is create buzz and a loyal brand community. Because small businesses often must rely on word of mouth to establish their positioning, public relations, social networking, and local promotion and sponsorship can be inexpensive alternatives. And the last one, leverage as many secondary associations as possible. Secondary associations are any persons, places, or things with potentially relevant associations are often a cost-effective shortcut means to build brand equity, especially those that help to signal quality or credibility. And that ends my presentation. Thank you for watching and listening. Good day, everyone.